Hoosier Trapper Outdoors is brought to you by Hoosier Trapper Supply, Leatherwood Creek Trapping Scents, HTS Productions, Hoosier Trapper Deer Scents, and Leatherwood Wildlife Art.
All right, thanks for joining us for this episode 11 of Hoosier Trapper Outdoors. It's hard to believe we'll only have one more episode after this one. We've got a couple product highlights. We've got quite a bit of on the line trap line footage. So Justin, both coon line and coyote line, and then also we have a buddy that's provided us some footage. So I hope you enjoy the show. The first segment will be Justin running. Like I said, we've been running these before work trap lines, so we're going to take a look at what he did on with some coon trapping.
All right, running a couple coon daggers here on this creek. Threw in a couple pocket sets as well for mink. Looks like the coon found it first. Got a nice little intersection here. It's just a little drainage. Comes down, feeds into this Leatherwood Creek here. And as you can tell, the coon thinks he's hiding from me. Made a nice little pocket there. We're going to take care of him and see what else we got. Already had this guy upstream a little bit in a coon dagger up on the bank. So it's a good Thanksgiving morning so far.
Just give a quick update on the spot here. I think we checked 4 more days, never ended up catching anything at all. Like I said before, it's just one of those years where just nothing's going on here, and we get, like I said, we get calls about that kind of stuff all the time. And there's some things you just have any control over. The animals, when the animals aren't moving through here or not around, then pull traps. We was really stale, just no activity at all. So. Just want to give a quick follow-up on that. The other thing is Justin's got some coyote line footage. We're going to take a look at that. It's a little more exciting than this right here. So anyways, hope you enjoy it.
Alright, as you can tell here, we got us a nice coyote. Hit this set out probably 3 or 4 days ago, I can't really recall. And not much activity since then. Had a couple deer tracks come through. Hadn't really had the opportunity to catch a coyote because I haven't been coming through. It's been so muddy, so you could really see their path of travel. But I knew they were here just because I got footage of me running them off with a 4-wheeler as I'm coming to set traps, or I think the first night I checked there were some further on down, so I knew they were running this area. It was just a matter of time. I connected. This is one of my favorite locations. This bridge, right behind the camera, there's a little intersection where 2 fields come together. There's a little bridge, and got this farm lane here that runs back. This is a creek ditch line on this side, and they just travel this. It's like the coyote highway. I catch coyotes here every year. Since the very first coyote I ever caught was actually right back here. So it's always been a special spot. I'll always set it as long as I got permission. And we just had a dirt hole here with some top dog, and he fully committed. I had to use some coveralls to bed to sift over the trap and bed the trap just because it was so muddy. It was hard to get one in. Plus it's below freezing, so the ground's pretty hard now. So with all that moisture in the soil and things like that, coveralls really saved my life as far as being able to trap any. So we're gonna take care of him, and I got a couple more traps strung out over here. We'll see how we can do. Hopefully we can tag up on another one here. But yeah, nice coyote. Coyote number 2 of the day. We're probably only, well, 1,000 yards or so from that other set, just on down. But got a tree line here at the woods, and it goes on down. Great location, good intersection. There's like 3 different things of interest coming together. This is night number 2 or 3 for this trap, and connected on this coyote here that's singing the blues this morning because he's seen me coming. But not as nice as the other one, but it's one less deer killer out there, so I'm sure the farmers and the hunters around here will be happy. I'm gonna take care of him, remake this right here. It's got a lot of eye appeal, good smell to it. I won't add any lures or anything, something like this. I just want to make sure I still got bait down in the hole. Other than that, it's got plenty of smell and good visual. So I still have just 2 or 3 more traps on down that way, so we're gonna go check them and see if we can connect on number 3. But if not, 2 coyotes out of 8 traps, I'm good with that. That's a good ratio. All the trappers know that usually it's not the case. So we'll take care of him, and we'll see what else we can get. Alright, here we go. We got a coyote this morning. Went about, I don't know, this spot kind of dried up for about a week or so. Then just a matter of time for one comes back through. So, happy with this catch. Got a light snow on the ground yesterday. Perfect location here. So, we're going to take care of him, and I'm actually not going to remake. Holidays coming on, kind of busy, and then we're going to be taking off to Arkansas, so probably come back and hit this location again once I get home from Arkansas and see what happens. But for now, that's it.
All right, for product highlight, we'll talk about our Leatherwood beaver lures. A lot of people are trap beavers, from this point on. We're, very close to Christmas now, and so we've got 2 that we make. Beaver castor is one of the most universally attracted ingredients out there that can be used for anything from predator lures to, of course, beaver lures, coon lures, or whatever. So, anyways, it's a great ingredient to use as addition to something or straight up. So we make a beaver gland lure, which is clearly beaver glands being castor, and we've actually taken that and we've had a couple things in there to enhance that. So we have a castor-based lure that we call our beaver gland lure 502. We've offered in both a 1 ounce or a 4 ounce. These can be as simple as just smearing some on the bank and having a trap in front of it, or you can make the castor mound sets, which are very effective. They've got the, that's the visual marking of the beavers in that area that mark their territory, so anything coming by is going to check that out. One thing about beavers, they always say, use castor that's different, that's not coming from the colony of beavers that you're trapping. So, they got something from outside the area. Obviously, if you're buying beaver lure, then you never have any that's never going to be a conflict, because it'll always be something different. And then we also make a beaver call lure, and this should be beaver call / food lure, curiosity lure. It has no castor in it. It's just food type, and I've actually got a couple guys just here locally that this is all they use, and they do very, very well for beavers. So if you need something to change things up, want to throw something different at them, clearly the beaver call lure is a good idea. You can go out and make numerous sets and change things up. One thing about beavers is they're not really very smart until you actually go out and pinch a couple, or you've caught a couple, and if you don't set enough traps to begin with, then you caught 2 or 3, and then you got some stragglers. Well, it can be really difficult to catch one or two last beavers. So if you go ahead and hit them really hard to begin with, set as many traps and snares as you possibly can, then you can avoid that issue. And sometimes you can, go back in, pull your traps, go back in 2 or 3 weeks later or 4 weeks later, let things calm down, let them forget about what was going on, and then and reset. And then at that point, you might want to, if you're using a caster-based lure, then you might want to consider a call food type lure. So, anyways, that's just a good rule of thumb as some sort of change up. So, for our next segment, one of our customers in here and one of a viewer of the show, he said, "Hey, I got some footage I'd like to share with you guys." So his name's Devin Kress, and he's got some footage that he filmed on his trap line, and he took his 2 boys with him one day, and I can't say enough about taking kids out trapping, and it's a great thing for kids. It's perfect for kids when they're young. They don't have to sit still like they would in a tree stand or whatever. They can run around and talk and do whatever they like. So anyways, Devin sent this footage to us. And that's one thing too I want to bear in mind. We've mentioned it in the past, and we don't mention it a lot, but any of you that have footage that you would like to share or whatever, we may make that a regular feature on our show coming out, our new show that will start next August, other trap lines. So for any of you interested in that, you might send us an email or give us a call and ask us kind of what requirements that we would have. Typically, it's mainly just having a camera that takes a chip. But anyways, you can call here or an email or whatever, and Justin can give you the information on that. So, anyways, this next footage, like I said, just some footage from Trapline buddy Devin Kress.
Now we're coming up on my second check here of the morning, just starting out, and got one really proud trapper right here. Let's walk up here and take a look at what we got. Just got a beautiful fox here in the trap. My very first one ever. Had some video of him on a trail cam the other day, and decided to go ahead and set up. Looks like we got him in the dirt hole set there. Okay, well, we're gonna take care of this fox here and remake the set and get back out on the trap line. We got at least another 15 raccoon traps to check, so stick with us. Just kind of tops off the day here. Like I said, we got that fox first thing, which was awesome, and kind of finished it out here with a coon. So, all right, we're here on our like this is our 6th or 7th check here, and got a nice coon in this dog proof. I think it was 17 degrees last night, and it's been kind of slow. It's supposed to be warming up here in the next few days, so hopefully things will pick back up. I think we had the sweet success in this one. It's been paying off pretty good. We'll go ahead and get this coon taken care of and get on down the line. Alright, we moved to a different spot, and we got a coyote set here with a coon in it, so we brought the boys out today to check these, so we'll get up here and take a look at him, okay guys? Okay. Don't get too close. Stay right there. Yep. Pretty, isn't he?
Hello, Raccoon.
Alright, well, we're going to take care of him, and then we'll get back out on the line.
All right, we get a lot of questions about how to ship to North American fur auctions, and with the way the fur market is nowadays and has been for several years, we don't have a fur buyer in every county like we once did, and that doesn't matter. That doesn't apply just to Indiana. That applies to pretty much across the country. So a lot of guys, a lot of trappers, coon hunters, whether you be small trappers, trappers that catch a lot, it doesn't make any difference, are shipping directly to the auction. Now, the fur does have to be finished out. In other words, got to be skinned, flesh stretched and dried, and you need to do a good job on it. If you don't, it'll actually hurt you more than what you would have gained. So, as we've been talking about in our first segments, the end product needs to look good, and that'll get you the most maximum dollars. So, it's quite simple to open up an account or to get things started. Basically, you're going to bring your fur in. You can pick these bags up in advance. If you don't have bags, don't worry about it. Don't sweat it. We've got plenty of bags here. Come in. We'll get your fur bagged up. You can take it out in the parking lot, bag up fur or whatever, and then we'll get it on the bag. And then we're going to put a tag on the bag. And these are a 2-part tag. On the tag itself, we're going to have your name and address. And if you're a new shipper, you won't have an account number yet, so we're just going to put new account, and we're going to put your name and address down here as well. And you're going to flip the tag over, and then it's going to have a list of what furs that you have on both pieces. Then we're going to tear that apart, and this little one goes inside the bag, and then this big one actually is going to get zip tied on the top of the bag. And depending on what's in the bag, we may put 3 or 4 zip ties on the top of the bag just to help secure it. The reason for this is just in case something happened to this tag, got ripped off or whatever. I mean, they're good solid tags, and it's really an issue. We've got this back upside one inside the bag. So, anyways, that's the reason for the 2 tags. And then after that, we're going to fill out this 4-part receipt. Of course, it's got the date, account number. If you got an account, great. If you don't, we'll put new account. If you don't remember your account number, we're just going to write has account. Very simple. Your name and address, your trapping license number, and then we're going to write down the quantity of what skins that you have. So you got 2 raccoons and 20 coyotes. We're going to write all that down, and then we're actually going to write down how many bags of fur that you've got, whether it be 1 bag, 10 bags, or whatever. And then myself or anyone that works here is going to sign this as the agent that we have received it. We're going to give you a copy of this receipt, and then you've got that as proof of records that your fur was dropped off here. The deadline for the March 28th, 2015 auction is January 19th. You can always go to the North American Fur Auction site, which is NAFA.ca, and they've got all the information on there, along with the receiving agents, which we would be one of them. There's receiving agents in a lot of different states. Most of us run a route as well, so you can meet the truck a couple times a year, and where you don't have to necessarily travel here or ship your fur here in a box, and get your fur picked up on those particular dates. So, what happens to your fur after this point? Then your fur is taken out, and there's a barcode that's actually stapled to each skin, and then those barcode numbers are assigned to your account. And then once all the grading's done and all the appropriate piles and by species and quality, then those barcodes are scanned into the computer, and then that way they know exactly whose skins are whose. So, once you ship, you can't get it back. That's it. But in all my years, I've never seen a better way to sell fur. So if you take a 5-year block of time, to me, you'll never beat that average versus selling at a trapper sale or selling to a local fur buyer or whatever. And I think, and this is just my personal view, I see trappers jump in and jump out. In other words, one year they're shipping, and then the next year maybe they thought, well, I could have done just as well in the country, so then they decide to sell at a trapper sale, which is another great way to sell fur, or they sell to a local fur buyer, and then after that they thought, oh shoot, I should have shipped. So I think whatever you decide to do, and I've mentioned this before, I think you need to be relatively consistent. So, typically most guys that ship will just continue to ship, and those that continue to sell at a trapper sale or to the local fur buyer, that's kind of where they stay. But I think some consistency in marketing is probably never a bad idea. So, anyways, let's move now. We're gonna work on fleshing and stretching a beaver skin, and I think you'll find that informative too. For the fur handling segment of this, we're gonna basically scrape and stretch a beaver. Here again, like everything else, you want to make sure you've got everything out of the fur, that it's free of everything. Comb it out, make sure you have no burrs, mud clogs, anything like that. So make sure it's clean. If you don't get it out, like I said, as soon as you hit that with that knife, you're going to cut a hole automatically. And I got to tell you, I took the easy way out on this beaver. We're doing a small one. The big ones are considerably more time consuming, but this will definitely give you an idea of what we're doing and how we do it. So, but the little ones, I know they flesh a little bit easier. So typically, and you can just kind of develop your own style of this. On a larger beaver, you're probably going to have to start with the sharp edge of your necker and kind of work like this. But on these smaller beavers, I think we can just scrape this off without even using the sharper edge for the most part. You know, typically I put a nail on the end of this beam. When I'm doing beavers, since we've got fur against the nail, I typically pull that nail out so it's not so hard on the fur. Then we'll just stick it back in when we get, do coon or whatever. So, right down the middle of the back on the beavers is the most is the toughest part. This being a small beaver, it's coming off pretty easy. Now this is the area that's down by the tail. On a larger beaver, people really struggle with that. Basically, you just turn your knife over and you're just going to work at an angle and just slice that off of there because it's a gristly, fat type thing. Keep working the skin up. Normally I just kind of, on beavers, I just normally go down the back and then just work the sides. Just keep working it around. Don't have to worry about the head. Just clean the globs up. And we about got it. Like I said, I took the easy way out on this beaver. These small ones are quite a bit easier to do than the big ones. But everybody develops their own style. I normally go down the middle of the back and then just work my way out. So, a couple things about these fleshing beams. I made this one years and years ago. It's fleshed a lot of critters over the years. And the mistake that I see on these fleshing beams, and it doesn't matter if you buy the ones that are readily available at Trapper Supplies, like what we sell. They're typically 5 foot long, 8 inches wide, a couple inches thick hardwood. I see guys mount them and they're on the ground. I have the far end actually on the ground, and on the shorter beams particularly, but even this one, Your angle then is just, I mean, you're bending way over like this. So if you think about it, it's hard on your back. You know, you're losing some of the strength of your ability to scrape that animal, and your endurance. So when you put your angle, you know, this is roughly the angle that you want. You definitely need to push down, but you don't need it at an angle like this. And that's a common thing that I see. Another one that's really common too is I'll see guys flushing stuff, and the beam's got a lot of flex or wobble to it because it's not secured properly. That beam needs to be solid so that when you're scraping, you're not moving the beam, and the beam's cocking like this or whatever. You want that beam to be good and solid. So when you're pushing, you're not moving the beam, you're moving the fat on the skin. So it'll be a lot more functional if you get that beam good and secure, you know, whatever type of beam you use, so that it's not wobbling or moving, and that your angle's not much more than this right here. And that way, because you're bending over. So something clearly, you know, two simple things to make the job much easier and more effective and more efficient. Just the position of the beam and well secured and tight. So anyways, let's get this beaver on the board. All right, to put this beaver on the stretcher on the board, these are easy to make yourself. There's a lot of people that use the hoops. The hoops, they dry real nice because both sides are completely exposed, but your size is inconsistent, or your shape I should say. So this way you got the complete specifications by what the auction companies would prefer. It's on these more oval, you're not pulling the fur tight in areas where it would make it seem less dense. So clearly I think in the scheme of things this is better. It certainly is as fast, if not faster, than using a hoop. So, you know, I would definitely recommend a board. What this is, it's like a 5/8 or I don't know if they make a 3/4 inch plywood. They don't call it that anymore, but it's roughly a 3/4 inch piece of plywood. Don't use OSB because it just doesn't hold the nails well enough. And in a 4x8 sheet of plywood, you can get 3 of these boards even. So you cut them at 32 inches, and then we're 4 foot this way. So 32 inches, and you can get 3 evenly sized boards, 32-inch boards out of 1 sheet of plywood. And then you find your center point on the board. So 32 divided by 2 is 16 inches and 24 inches. So 24 by 16 is your center point here. And then to put the lines on, you can have these beaver board patterns. They're, you know, it's a one-time investment. They're very handy to have. And then you just line that up and then make your marks. We alternate black marker, red marker, black marker, so that it's easier when you're tacking them out. You can keep track of where your lines are. And you're thinking to yourself, well, that can't be that difficult or complicated to do that. And believe me, it is, to get off the lines. So that just gives you a good way to keep the skin on the proper size. So anyways, that, I guess we got kind of a product highlight built into this segment right here, but these are quite handy and simple to use, and they hold up, and you can make numerous boards. Typically on this size board too, you can do both sides, so you can have beaver on both sides, and then when you got them, you just stack them up and lean them against the wall or whatever and let them dry. So our Indiana beavers are not typically what they call a shearable type beaver. In other words, they don't have real heavy fur. So, and of course, this being a smaller beaver, it's not going to have a real heavy fur, and it was caught early too. So, you know, the tendency for most people when they're putting up fur is to overstretch it, and I've been you know, you want a fair stretch, but you certainly don't want to overstretch it and make it seem thinner than it is. And beavers that, like I said, we're not on the top of the chart in terms of quality of beaver skin, so we're better off with a little bit looser stretch on these, and as it dries, it'll shrink and compensate for maybe some slack areas. So I think in just kind of playing around here, we're going to go to the second red line, and I think we'll be just fine. Another mistake that I've seen people make is they start out on their beavers, and they'll typically you start at the head, down the tail, and then you go to either side like this, we're just going to work, work our way around. I have seen guys take these at first and just crank them, trying to get as much out of stretch out of there as possible. If you do that, you'll never get the rest of it pulled out. So we're just going to work our way on around with this. Basically, I usually just keep splitting the difference and keep working my way around. You can go with smaller nails. You don't have to use this big a nail. An 8 or a 10 penny nail works great. For some reason, I don't know where ours went off to. So like I said, you just keep working your way around, split the difference, and then at this point, you want your nails about every inch. They look a lot better. Another commonly thing that's done with beavers is guys will stop at this point right here. So when this beaver dries, these little scallops are going to come down like this. You're hurting yourself if you let it do that, and they look terrible. They just look like a really poorly unfinished skin. If you've gone to the trouble to go over and flesh this beaver, skin it and flesh it, which is very time consuming. Beaver skins take a lot of time to process. This just a few more minutes and you got some nails in there, and then you got a good looking product. So if you've done a good job skinning and scraping, then it's not much more to put the proper amount of nails in. So. I know when it gets late at night and you're sitting there working up fur or whatever, it's easy to take some shortcuts. But you don't really want to take a shortcut when it comes to doing this stuff right here. Think of all the time that you've put into catching these animals, time, effort. This is not an area you want to try to shortcut, do a halfway job on them. You just, for one thing, the animal deserves to be put up to the best of what the animal is worth. All right, got it tacked out. We're going to cut these front legs just a little bit closer. Now, fur graders know that there's 4 holes where the feet were on the beavers. Common knowledge. And they are not going to count for any type of damage or whatever if you don't close those up. However, if they're closed up, when you hold that skin up to the air and you got 4 light holes coming through, it's just automatically got that perception of something's just not as good as it could look. So just take 3 nails and close those leg holes up. That way you won't have that gap in light coming through, just like that. And the front legs, we just cut them a little bit shorter. We're just gonna put 1 in here and just close that up. I don't think it's an issue, but on those, because they're pretty close. But this will just tie this up a little bit, and make it look a little nicer. Last thing we're gonna do, we're gonna cut some of this, like that's the cheeks of the beaver right there. We're gonna just trim up some of that kind of stuff. This one's not too bad because, like I said, it's a smaller beaver. But we're going to cut off some of this back here by the tail, straighten this out. And that's basically it. So We're gonna let this beaver dry in here. Here again, it's better if the beaver would dry at a 55 to 60 degree heat. Typically, I'm not a real big fan of putting, not a real big fan of putting fans on beaver skins to, direct fans just blowing on them. The air does need to be circulating. And then once it's done, we'll take this skin off on the next episode, and that way you can kind of see the finished product at that point. But we'll let it dry. Probably a beaver like this needs probably 5, 6, 7 days to dry, and then it should be good to come off. And like I said, we'll take that off and do that for the next episode. All right, this is the muskrat that we did on the last episode. As you can see, it's dry, nicely dried. Check the ears. If the ears are good and dry, then you know that it's ready to go. If you remember, we had to T-pin the nose on the end here, and like I said, you can use a small 4 or 6 size finishing nail, or even clothespins or whatever. Make sure you take that off at this point. If you don't, you can tear the skin if you forget to take it off. And then you want to undo your hooks. Typically, these hooks sometimes can be kind of tight if you just hit them on the side of something like that. Those are tough. Or you can hit them with a hammer and knock them loose. If you're doing a lot of skins, a lot of guys will have just little wooden mallets or wooden club things, and they'll do that with them. And then just get a little snug and pull the skin off. And as you remember, we combed this out and it looked really nice to begin with. So in that, we don't need to do anything to that. That's absolutely beautiful. So, if that were a little disheveled looking and the hair's a little messed up, or the fur's a little messed up, I would definitely comb that out. But this one doesn't need any attention because we did a good job to begin with. So saved us time at this point. So that muskrat is ready for market, and nice product. All right, remember we have our trapping supply catalog. It's got all our trapping supplies in it, everything you need for trapping. It's also got the fur handling equipment in it and our line of deer hunting scent. You can get that by giving us a call at 317-881-3075, or you can visit our website, HoosierTrapperSupply.com, and you can request one through the site. You can actually even print your own off of the site as well. So our next episode will be on January 9th, and this is actually our last episode for this season. When you are watching this episode, if you're going to watch it the day after Christmas, which is when this is released, we'll actually going to be leaving that morning to head to Arkansas. So our last show, we will have some footage from our first day or two of Arkansas this season, so it'll be very, very current, just kind of like we've been doing with the farmland trapping. So anyways, January 9th, next show, we'll see you then.